All right. I think we're live. I'm just
We
gonna.
are.
What the hell? I'm gonna check. I don't know how I opened it on my computer,
Computer.
my phone here. See if I can see if it'll update because I stream. I'm still like this is my second time using StreamYard, so I'm always like,
I got my sodas ready.
so does at the ready.
Yeah.
So does plural. Are those sugar free or no? You're just
Yeah, all of them are sugar free. I don't even like the sugary sodas anymore.
really.
Yeah. I didn't have the heart to tell him, but Watson isn't listening. So I usually show up at Watson's place and I got like the diet orange soda.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy the orange soda." And he bought the sugary version, and I didn't have the heart to tell him. I didn't
Duh.
get one, but I didn't have the heart to tell him either.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
gonna be that guy. I'm not gonna be that guy.
Well, that's always the thing is like, do you tell them like, oh, that's not what I wanted, and like kind of discourage them from doing something nice for you again? That's better just to sometimes better say, oh, thank you, and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you can feel good about it, and hopefully he'll do it, help you out in the future.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Oh
It's like,
well.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I guess today this topic is on propaganda, and the first thing I wanted to ask, generalized question is, how much do you think the sort of media you consume actually sort of affects you?
Oh, that's a good one. A lot. I think a lot. Why do I say that? Because I remember like growing up with The Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that. And I thought, like, oh, that's so they're married. Like, the man is always a moron. Women love morons. Women love a dependent guy. And I mean, as a child, you're very susceptible to that. Maybe later in your teenage years as well. And you're like, oh, I don't have to be capable or whatever. I can just be a bumbling oaf and I will be found attractive. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Not how that works at all. Same with politics, like in your media, where it's like, oh, rich people bad. You need to help the poor. You want to help the poor, right? Not understanding that most people, that a lot, not most, that a lot of choices have consequences that will lead into poverty. And you're just thinking, because of media, that all these people are poor because they are oppressed. So yeah, it has a very large effect. You can see that even now with college students. It's like, how many of them hate capitalism, posting it on Twitter from their iPhone? It's like, you have no idea what capitalism really is, do you?
Mm. Yeah, they're always a lot of times rich or they come from very affluent backgrounds. Like so you've benefited from all of it, but you hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
but
really
they
interesting.
they don't continue with the thought process because they very much believe in that appeal to authority where, oh, my professor said it, or my parents said it, or this older guy who has way more experience than I do said it. It's like, yeah, but they can still be wrong, you know. Oh, but he's a university professor, how can he be wrong? Well, by being a university professor first of all. But they
Yeah.
don't question any narrative they're given. They're not free thinkers at all.
No, exactly. And that I think that it's also like an element like rebelliousness against their parents, where they don't like them for some reason, or like they almost have some sort of guilt that they've had it so well.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
Uh,
especially that.
or even like they have everything, but there's something missing. They're not necessarily happy. So they're like, what could it be? Like, oh, it's got to be because I need to go fight these guys. That it's emotionally satisfying to sort of be indignant or feel like you're being oppressed,
Yep. Yep.
especially especially on the sort of left wing of the political spectrum. There's a lot of capital in that.
Because that's the thing, right? They appeal to people's victimhood, and with that, they give them a solution. It's like, oh yeah, but you're oppressed, but I can save you. I can help you. Me, Mr. or Mrs. Politician, who may or not have switched ethnicity through the last 5 years.
What?
will help you.
My accent changes based on my audience.
Oh
Oddly.
wow. Oh yeah, interesting. Interesting, isn't that? Like, oh no, no, no,
Mhm.
no, no, no. She wasn't Indian. No, no, no. She's always been black.
She's both.
She,
Just
yeah,
it's like one of those holographic like baseball cards. Like all of a sudden, like it's like or like those cards you have where you turn it at a certain angle, it changes the picture. It just in one on one she's Indian, and then you turn it a bit like, oh, she's black again.
yeah, exactly. I know, right? It's but I mean, people believe it because they want to believe it. Either they want to believe it or they hate the other guy so much
Hmm.
that they just run with it. Where it's like, ah, well, at least it's not him. We have this, so let's run with it. So yeah. And speaking of propaganda, 4 year, no, even longer. How long has this been? 8 year, almost going on to 9 years of Orange Man bad. And
Mhm.
when he had his first term, you guys had like what, the best economy in years?
I think it ended up becoming pretty good. Yeah. Unfortunately, COVID kind of like
Yeah.
nosedived it, and then of course we decided to print a shitload of money
Mm.
during that time. Like, oh, I wonder why inflation's so big. I wonder if that had something all those loans and money printing we
Nah,
did.
I know, right? Like we
Yeah.
print up all this money,
No,
and we know scarcity creates value.
no,
So why is the dollar worth less when we printed so much of it? Huh.
no.
It's like
Why
we
are
did.
my groceries $200?
I
So
know.
strange.
Why is my gas so high? It's like, mm.
And then they'll be like, "Nah, it's not that bad. Totally, it's not." Like, "Oh, sure, thank you."
Well,
Oh,
again, hey, Mish.
oh, it's the niche.
Hello.
Hello, lo, lo,
What's
lo,
going
lo, lo,
on?
lo.
Hello, Habibis.
Hello, baby.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Just finished working.
Ah,
How's everyone
nice.
doing?
I'm
I'm
doing
doing
well.
well.
Doing
What's
well.
the
Good to
topic
see you.
today?
Propaganda, which you know everything about in your
Yeah.
desert
Oh,
country.
I was asking Jack, I'll ask you, how much do you think the sort of media you consume affects you?
the what? Some sort of what? Sorry.
Like the media in terms of like news, videos you watch, games you play, like any of that sort of stuff. How much do you think it affects you, like morals or attitude towards
Oh,
the world?
honestly, it does a lot. Like that. That's the reason why public relation agencies and marketing agencies they make a shit ton of money. That's basically how they make money. Uh, I've worked in that field for a little bit, and I've seen the things that they do in the background, and they wouldn't call it propaganda. They have other names for it. So
Yeah.
there's like theories that's been tested and it works on how to change the people's perceptions and beliefs and how to do it gradually. Yeah. So you know you don't want to sound like you're some sort of like a conspiracy theorist, but that stuff actually works.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Next
I-
question.
Well,
No, go
I
ahead,
mean,
Dave. Like, give
my
your own.
my personal thought, well, this is something I struggled with too often because people will say like, oh, does violent video games make you violent, or sexist depictions of women, which we might get into, like makes people sexist. I'm like, does it really? Or like even some people like, oh, if you have like a Ouija board, some like hard line Christians, but like if you have a Ouija board or like crystals, get into that occult stuff, it's a doorway to the demonic. I'm always like, I don't know if that really has a huge effect on you, but I almost kind of see it as like a diet, like how the food you eat, where like if you consume some of it, like ever occasionally, it doesn't really make a huge difference on you. But the stuff that you regularly consume, I think does end up affecting you more and more and more. Like say like during the times I was listening to like a lot of like conservative radio, you can kind
Mm.
of tell like like you get angrier as since a lot of that stuff is very much, like outrage bait. As they start, if you like listen to the Daily Wire every time, Ben Shapiro's got the latest reason why the liberals have gone insane, and you gotta deal with that, and like, oh man, I can't believe it. So that definitely does affect you in a way, but I think it's like kind of more of a gradual thing to watch out for.
Yes, it is, but it works the other way around too. I mean, most of us know like the guys like Nerdrotic and Heels versus Babyface and Critical Drinker, but they work too because like their channels now survive on outrage. And I remember No Time to Die came out, and they already declared it dead. Like this woke garbage is dead, and these people hate you, and they're killing Bond, and blah blah blah. And I actually saw the film, and I'm like, it's not even that bad. It's actually pretty entertaining. It's like, like it's actually pretty good. And then slowly but surely, I stopped watching them and just consumed entertainment I wanted to, and I made my own opinion. Star Wars, I just let go, where it's like I don't care anymore. And apathy is the best weapon you have. Indifference against those things.
Yeah.
Like if you really want Disney to die, then stop talking about it. I know nothing about the Acolyte other than what I was told. And the same, I didn't even know Rings of Power had a second season. I thought they were canceled.
Yeah,
in all honesty.
They definitely didn't advertise it as much, and I don't know if that's because they didn't want to, or they think it's like just a disaster, or maybe it's just not worth it. They need to make it anyway. I don't know.
No idea. The only reason I know it exists is because I saw a YouTube video pop up. It's like, oh, they have a second season. Well, I didn't like the first one. So
yeah, that and the Orc family. What
was
it? Like that showed up like, oh god, this is so dumb.
I was happy I saw that though, because that was hilarious.
Yeah, and the wrong reasons. Like, what is happening?
It was funny for all the wrong reasons. The Gondorian was right. Orc supremacists.
Keep these refugees out of Springfield, Ohio.
Exactly. Like keep them out of Gondor.
But guys, the thing I've noticed that people who usually get affected by this propaganda stuff on social media, on the news and everything, there are people who are, they don't have much going on in their life. Like,
yeah.
There's a reason why marketing works on women mostly, and it's targeted for women. Because most of the women, they have nothing going on, and that's not being just hateful towards women, because literally that's what they do. They just talk about stuff, and they have nothing. They have they don't have really. I wouldn't say goals. I don't know how to word it properly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you notice, guys also. In your case, Dave, in America, like people who get pissed off because of the right wing, the left wing stuff, it's people just looking for a reason to be angry. Like literally, if you're a guy who's busy working 9, 10, 12 hours a day, you're gonna be too tired to honestly pay attention to news and social media. Your feed is gonna be filled with dogs and probably boobies and butts. That's it. It's not going to be something political.
Yeah. I mean, there is like legitimate reasons to be upset at the government, but yeah, they don't let it consume them for hours a day. It's like, all right, this sucks, and like, here's how I'm going to like plan accordingly, or here's how I'm going to vote or support a party. There's usually an action involved with it too. It's not just emotional.
Yeah, the doomsayers, like the world is ending, like if you don't do this is gonna happen. Like, what's the worst case scenario that's gonna happen? Like, the world is not gonna end. Okay, it's gonna be shitty.
Civil War.
It's gonna be shitty for you because it's something different than what you're used to. But is the world gonna end? Like our meteor is going to fall from the sky and then everyone's gonna die? No, probably not. Like that's. Oh, nice.
That's gonna happen. Dragons will rain down upon you.
Dragons.
No, I remember back in 2010, I think, or 9, there was this famous YouTube channel over here in the Middle East. that was basically about the what they call it. I don't know what's the biblical name.
Mhm.
It's basically the end of times. Okay.
Armageddon or
Yeah,
Revelations.
the Armageddon. Like we have a different name for it. So basically, this whole channel it had like a 50 episode series. And the funny thing is that they used a lot of Lord of the Rings clips just to just to depict what's his name, the Antichrist, and Jesus, and they even portrayed Gimli as the Antichrist for some reason.
Not Gollum? Interesting.
Dude, it was the funniest thing, and that
Only
channel had a
Gimli.
shit ton of people honestly following it and believing that, like, oh shit, the world is gonna end in a few years. Yeah,
There is, yeah, like so I don't know if it's boredom or like they need like something to be happening. Like there's all those guys like nothing ever happens, and there's other like contingent, like, oh, it's happening, guys, it's happening.
It's happening. It's finally happening. Civil war is coming.
yeah,
It's never coming. These people tend to live in a perpetuate state of fear, which, as Mish pointed out, at least then they have something to do. It's like, oh, their life is so boring that focusing on a civil war at least makes it worth it.
Yeah. Well, like cleaning the garage is a little bit boring, so I guess
I
Civil
know.
War is a little bit better to focus on, or even like something to talk about, like, oh, did you see what Trump just said? I kind of take part in that sometimes too. It's fun. Like they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs.
dude,
Which
Like
is
I'm
true.
more concerned. Honestly, I'm more concerned and worried about me not being able to enjoy video games as I used to. That world ending.
Yeah,
That's
that is.
like that's a very a huge issue for me, and it's like it's on doom level. Like, why am I not enjoying video games like I used to? Are video games shitty? Like, are there no good video
Yes.
games anymore? Like, literally, it's taking me forever just to find one good video game to enjoy and play. Like I used to back in the early
Mm,
2000s when Final Fantasy
yeah.
11, World of Warcraft came out, and all the good games came, like where you spent hours just being lost and not caring about anything happening. And just nowadays, you buy a game for like $100 and it's shit. Like I just put it down after 2 hours. I'm like, I can't play the game. Well, refund.
That is. I think it's both. You kind of like lose that. It's part of that's like youth. I don't know if I can ever enjoy a game as much as I did. 12 years old. Sitting in front of the Super Nintendo just playing for hours.
Donkey Kong
Than I can
Country.
now. Yeah, but
Hey, Nuke.
Chrono
what
Trigger.
is up?
That game.
What is up,
Hey, no,
Nuke?
what's up?
What's
I
going on, guys?
I'm doing well. It's like Dave mentioned. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo and just wasting hours. But now as an adult, I can beat it within 2 hours or something. It's like, oh,
Honestly,
But
dude,
there are also things that I cannot do that I did as a kid. Where it's like there are some games I played as a kid, I ran through them, and now it's like, how the hell did I do that?
Yeah. Speaking of propaganda, Trump just on his social media app just posted, "I hate Taylor Swift."
Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's very interesting. The celebrities are often used for propaganda, and there is a lot of discussion that Taylor Swift herself is a propaganda tool for the left because she said she's voting for Kamala Harris. And the thing is, like, all politics are gendered right now, so like it's all men versus women essentially. So I think the propaganda is just it plays on people's fears, like the whole abortion thing.
oh yeah.
So if you're a girl that's scared to have babies by a guy that you're not sure about, you go online and you find other women that also are afraid, and you find people with power with money say, hey, abortion is a right, and you're just like, you know what, I'm sold. And I don't know if that's propaganda itself, but I think especially this political landscape now. It's all going to be playing to people's fears. Just like how the right is just like, hey guys, you're never gonna have a family because girls are hoes. So we got to band together and moral our way into a better world. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, Jesus Christ, it's all propaganda. It's,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's all right. So let me just explain this. Just to make it very simple for the listeners and everyone. Um, just look up. I don't know if you guys know about the nudge theory. Have you heard about it?
The nudge theory?
Yeah.
No,
I
I have
think I
not.
heard of it. I'm looking it up now. No, just
Yeah. So it's basically it's like a theory. It's a concept which it affects your behavior on like something on how you buy, how you think, and how you make decisions. It plays on the psychic aspect and the way that you think. And if you notice the shift that happens in social media, like nowadays, because social media is like, let's take Twitter for example. It's a very strong tool. Okay, that's your propaganda tool. So what these people do on social media, they basically find influencers who have big following. And the nudge theory doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time for the shift to happen. So basically, it's you just drop something that's very controversial, okay, and you're gonna get people who are gonna be against you. Uh, then after a while, you drop that same controversial uh, topic, and you're gonna have more people on your side than they were in the first time. But during the time between the first time and the second time, like there's things that governments and companies that they do to change the decisions or like the behavior of people to persuade them to be more so they do it with analytics. They do it with numbers. Basically they scrap the data off of like Twitter and of social media, and they see how many people are with and against, and they do it after 6 months again or like 1 year. um, I've seen this happen real time. Everyone is making fun of like how Saudi Arabia just have women driving now. Do you think that happened just overnight?
Oh no, that happened through years of propaganda, slowly but surely boiling the pot.
It took 3 years for it to happen. So it started with like with social media influencers talking about this. Okay, there was a shit ton of people who were saying like, oh, if I see a woman on the street, I'm gonna run her over. I'm gonna just off them and they're whatever. I don't want to say the words. So that was the first time that people talked about, and those influencers, they got death threats. They People hated them for a while. After 6 months, they stirred the honey pot, the topic again, and more people were on their side, and they did that again after 6 months, then another 6 months, and you can see the shift happening in real time. So when the decision came to drive, you wouldn't have crazy people on the street trying to run women over. The whole, like 90% of the people are okay with it, or like 95%. So basically,
yeah,
that's nudge theory in real life.
yeah. I just looked it up. Yeah, it's like they put like if they wanted people to eat healthy, they would put fruit at eye level at the supermarket. That way,
Yeah.
you're not changing people's free will, or you're not getting rid of free will, but you're just like kind of nudging people in the right direction.
Oh yeah, I've did that today. Honestly, like Jack, I think I told you like today. I was busy with the big guy. Okay, so we're
Mhm.
doing some side stuff, like doing
Yeah.
some rounds and checking stuff.
You took him very well, though. My God,
Yeah,
man. You can take a guy. Jesus.
yeah. I know, dude. Anyway,
I
so
saw Mish like taking whole all at once. It's like, whoa.
yeah, dude. They don't
But
call me
go
the
ahead.
king
Go
anymore
ahead.
for nothing. But anyways, joking aside. So we have these safety signs and all over the place, but it's placed in the wrong places. Like they put one in a road where cars drive like, I don't know, like 20 miles an hour. So you're not gonna read the sign while driving 20 or 30 miles an hour. Nobody's gonna read the sign, a small sign, for it, for example. So I was suggesting today, like, why don't you put these signs in a place where there's a lot of traffic where people have to stop for 30 seconds to 45 seconds. That's going to give you better effect. Like, people actually have to stop, so they have to wait 30 seconds to move again. So they have time to see that day after day after day after day, that message on the board is going to be, burned to their mind, instead of having it just, on the road. I'm not going to pay attention to it. I know there's a sign, but I don't know what's there.
Mm-hmm.
And the big guy was like, this is a very good idea. And he looked at the other manager and he's like, yeah, do that. Write it down and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically nudge theory also.
Okay. So it is just slowly boiling the frog in the pot.
Exactly. It's like, changing people's minds and decisions slowly. But
Yeah, that's even 48 laws of power. Don't reform too quickly.
Yeah.
Like, never reform too quickly. Always do it slowly but surely. It's to get back to, like, when was this? Almost, oh wow, it's been 4 years. 4 years ago, the COOF, where the masks and the jab, they're still doing the booster shots here in the Netherlands. It's like a whole campaign started again for new jabs. It's like, what the hell? But that was a very direct process, but slowly but surely, some remnants of those precautions are still affecting our society as a whole. Like, they've seen how easy they can get everybody to wear a mask or download a QR code or start showing you your ID at the movie theater. That was the weirdest thing ever back then.
Well, yeah. And I think some of that stuff sticks and some of it doesn't. Like the online ordering and stuff is kind of still stayed around because some people still like it. But like a lot of the more inconvenient stuff kind of slowly got dropped as far as like masking and distancing and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But
I still
will
don't get
still-
why working from home wasn't accepted more. Still
Yeah.
don't get that.
some people still want,
Yeah.
I guess, too many people goofing off, or they need to.
Yeah. That's
Power.
that's the concern when it comes to working from home.
Didn't productivity rise when people were working from home more?
Honestly, one of the biggest issues I think from working from home. Okay, working from home over here is not a thing. Okay, we do have it in some companies where they give you like a month where you can work from home. Okay, and you have to spread that month throughout the year. So you have like every week you have like one day you can work from home. The problem is honestly with productivity. Like, a lot of people don't have that concept. Okay, if I'm at home, I'm still getting paid, so I can work. The company is giving me a day off basically from commuting, where I can be at home, so I can be productive and working without wasting 2 more hours or like 3 hours commuting. So people just and I think you've seen on social media these dickheads who work from home and basically buy this mouse mover or like shaker, whatever they call it, just to show that they're working and they're being online. Like, these are the most stupid people you can see. Like, why would you post something like that? Honestly, if I found a loophole to the system, I wouldn't be going posting about it online. Like, if I was a very good thief, I wouldn't be shooting TikToks and showing people how I'm stealing stuff. Like, I would steal stuff and be rich and just fucking disappear.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like, some people will have like spoof GPSs and make you think that they're moving and stuff.
Mhm.
Get around that. It's
I have
amazing what they'll do.
I have the keys to your success, but the only way you can get it is buy it for $3.97.
Yep. I'm back to the topic of propaganda. Once you reach a level in corporate, let's say, for example, and this happens worldwide because all companies that operate in any country, they're always directed by the government one way or another. So once you reach a level where you get access to, certain, confidential stuff, you will see those directions, that come from above. Like, we want X, Y, and Z, make it happen. And why should it happen? Because we want this message to, be displayed to the public or the world. For example, now they ask me to find them, a female underground worker, someone who works in the underground. I mean,
Hey, it's Gov.
hey, Gov.
New setup
So,
and everything. Sorry
yeah,
to interrupt, Nish.
and the thing that they told me about, like, I told them, like, that's a very hard thing to do. That's a very technical job. It's a very dangerous job. There's no females here in the market that can do that job, or like even possess the technical skills. Like, you have to invest a shit ton of money in that person, and you always have the risk of, her getting married and just saying fuck you, and I'll just go be a housewife, because no one wants to work underground for 10 hours not seeing the sunlight. uh, it's a very taxing job. Okay, but they said that's fine. It's a tax that we have to pay. She's going to be paid differently other than, the men. And they're going to invest heavily in training her, because they want to use her for the social media campaigns as the first female, underground worker. And that translates to a bigger picture, which aligns with whatever the big guy wants.
Mm.
And slowly but surely, productivity will drop, and nobody dares to say why.
No.
I mean, guys, men are not going to be able to complain because they have to work, because they need the money. Like, if they enforce a lady over that's getting paid more for whatever reason, they're still going to be doing the same job, because you have commitments you have to pay for. You have bills you have to pay. Where you're going to be pissed off and you're going to just go sit home and work from home as an underground worker? That doesn't work. That's your career, basically. So
Yeah.
some
Pretty
shit
much.
you cannot change. Honestly, it has to happen for bigger, reasons. That's over you. That's why I keep saying in corporate, you're typically and usually just a number. You don't matter at all. Honestly, you're just a number on an Excel sheet for someone.
True.
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to Dave's point. Like, do attractive women in video games make men sexist? Which is kind of I know people make the argument, but it's kind of a long reach, because like the females in video games just look appealing, but they're still competent. Like, most sexism is based on women being incompetent. Them looking good does not make them incompetent. Like, those two are mutually exclusive. Because in the video game, if you have a female character, 9 times out of 10, she has to be competent to take out the bad guys.
So,
But it's
so
nice to look at something.
the way it works is that a woman's sexuality has to belong to her, and she has to use it for her to get things out of the world, not the other way around, right? So when we use women's sexuality for our own pleasure, whether it be a video game, or you like want to sleep around with women, or you want to use maybe use them for a webcam business, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The world gets mad. The world does not like that, because you are taking women's sexuality is supposed to be for her to use on the world to get what she wants. And that's like the acceptable view of how women. That's why when we date much younger women, everyone's like, wow. But then those same women have an OnlyFans at 21 and everyone's like, oh, whatever, And that's the reason they don't like when men exploit women's sexuality for their own gain and not the woman's.
Yeah, it was amazing to see just the visceral reaction when people say or any sort of consideration be taken for male sexuality. Like, if you were to suggest hey, if you want to avoid getting raped at a party, maybe don't get blackout drunk, and you significantly reduce the chances that you'll get, they'll immediately maybe men should just stop being evil, and then that would improve things. You just can't,
because the lion is not going to eat the gazelle because we tell him not to eat it.
exactly. But it's
No, Mr. Lion, you cannot do that.
maybe don't wear that short dress in front of a bunch of migrants and
Yeah,
you'll be all-
sociopaths.
You'll be all right. I saw this thread where it's like a woman saying like you probably shouldn't dress top or like in like a sports bra and like short shorts in your house around like male family members, and like there's kind of like an incest thing to it, but like just the visceral reaction that if a man like even thinks about that they should be hung, this type of thing is just like it's crazy. Any sort of consideration that men have like these stronger urges than females, and like maybe have some consideration for the fact that they do have those strong urges and it's harder for them to control. That idea is just insane because you couldn't dress like how you wanted. Or I guess maybe Mish could comment on this and see. I don't know if do you still have to like dress up in burqas and that kind of stuff in your culture?
Honestly, the burqa thing has been, like it's more of a cultural thing since they stopped enforcing that. Like there has been new decisions made by the higher ups. Like they literally told people what to wear, what they can wear, and what they cannot wear. So they said like women can wear whatever they want as long as it's modest, and it's not showing cleavage and short stuff. And even men, they were saying like men, you also need to dress properly, like dress for the place you're going to. And there's the thing like, okay, so don't wear short stuff in front of your male family members. That's a thing over here. Like women are modest in general over here, especially with their male relatives, like brothers, father, and everything. But yeah, it's not being enforced. Nothing.
Not legally, but more culturally.
Yeah, it's more cultural. Even like the burqa thing, like like the place I'm in, it's right now I'm working in. Like there's the people over here are more traditional, so women they wear the burqas and everything because that's how the area and the people and the traditions are. But if you go to a bigger city, like you're gonna see all kinds of people, and they don't wear it because someone is telling them to wear it. They wear it for themselves.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. But like Dave brought up a good Dave brought up an interesting point. Oh,
Yeah,
go
the,
ahead.
the, fun- the funny thing is, like, I keep noticing like these expat women who move here for work, and they spend quite some time in Saudi, and they enjoy it. They love like the safety, the security, and how people are respectful, especially towards women. And the funny thing is, they all love the black cover that they wear, that covers their body, and they're like, this is the most amazing thing. Like I can wear whatever I want down, under it, and nobody's gonna say shit. Like I can be in my pajamas, nobody's gonna say shit. And they like take pride in it, and they go and like buy, these covers with different colors and different designs, and they like created their own fashion line from it.
I mean, why not? I used to work in an office where on Friday was pajama day. You can
Ah,
show up in a bathrobe. I miss those days. Dave brought up a good point. I'm getting the echo again, by the way. Or is that just me? Or I hear myself?
No, I hear it
Oh, there
too.
we go.
No,
Okay,
no,
there we
because shitty mic.
No, he actually has a very good mic, but he hasn't installed it properly yet. Doesn't
No.
matter. We love him. We love him.
You love him. I don't love him. He's a Mexican. I don't like him.
How about now? Test,
Let's
test.
see. Test.
Okay, now I love you.
Well,
Yeah,
your
no,
mic,
it's-
it's fine on your end. It's just sometimes it like the other people's like dialogue is going through on your end. I don't know why.
How's that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
No, you should have said just that's not my fault. It's their fault. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to mess with some settings here, but
yeah.
all
I mean,
hard.
the mic isn't your mic isn't open. I mean, you have headphones, so I don't know what could be.
yeah, good question.
Do you are you able to listen? No, I don't know.
It's
Forget
okay.
what I say. You were saying something, Jack.
So you had a good point about like addressing the fact that women might want to consider what they're wearing in front of men. Whether women like it or not, men are visual creatures. It is not a bug, it's a feature. It's just how it is. Same as in the gym when these scantily clad girls, I was right, by the way. We're going to see bikinis in the gym. It's happening. I was so right. I was so right. But you cannot expect no man in the world not looking at you with, like, well, you know, fuck me eyes, sort of say.
Mhm.
The male
Yeah.
gaze, they call it.
The evil male gaze. It's going to happen because men are visual creatures. Yet men are shamed for their innate biological features. They're shamed for it. You are not allowed to be a man. You are not allowed to be attracted to anything that is appealing to the eye, which comes back to the whole propaganda. Men have been beaten over the head with that for years. How dare you look at a woman? How dare you say a woman cannot wear what she wants to wear? Well, it's like you mentioned, maybe you don't want to run through the Haitian community at midnight when it's dark without somebody to guide you. Maybe you don't want to do that. I'm not saying anybody is in their right to do anything. No one is. Absolutely no one. However, you're kind of poking the bear when you're going to go running scantily clad through a population of people who were not raised as properly as we are in the West, sort of say.
Mhm.
Which is a
And-
perfectly normal thing to address. But we have
Well,
to-
it's women really don't care about their own safety as much as we think.
Oh no, they don't.
No, they
It's,
don't.
it's something that it's a manipulation tool they use for us, where while we're just finding different ways and creative ways to make their life 1% more comfortable and safe, they're off flying to different countries in the middle of the night, partying, you know, risking getting drugged or something like that. And then they come back and then they continue to complain, hey, men, you suck, make life safer for us, you know. And I tell guys like, hey, they don't care about their safety as much as you think. They don't. Like, they really don't. And when you see women's behavior, their day to day, they really women are the biggest binge drinkers. American women are the biggest binge drinkers on earth. They are the number one, and American men were not even in the top 10. So women are drinking. Women are their senses are being blunted all the time. They smoke a lot of
popping.
weed now.
Pill
So
popping.
they're not really alert, and they don't. And if they really cared about their safety, you know,
No,
the
they
clubs
don't.
wouldn't be packed. The
They don't.
clubs wouldn't be packed full of them getting drunk. They wouldn't be accepting drinks from strangers. They wouldn't be going on Hinge and Tinder dates. They would, you know,
I was gonna say
they
that right
really,
now.
yeah, they really don't care about their safety. It's just the illusion is that they care about their safety is for us so they can get us to continue to work and be their plow horse to make their life easier. But the truth is, the number like single woman is the highest rising demographic of travelers around the world, right? Single women are traveling to places, and I've dated women where like, hey, where'd you go? And they're like, yeah, I went to Cuba. And I'm like, Cuba? Like,
I don't
you
even
didn't go
think dream about going there, dude. And me, I'm a guy.
yeah, and she wanted to go again, and I'm just like, what is like women just need that, what do you call it? Just need that danger and all that stuff, and then they come back and they say, man, it's your fault. So that's definitely a propaganda thing there.
Mhm. Just be better, and we wouldn't have to feel unsafe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's manipulation.
Like Luke said, women honestly they don't care about their safety, and you know this reminds me of Ryan's topic yesterday when he said like texting is for districts only, and we were just derailing his podcast. But anyways, like I was like, I'm a guy, okay, and if a lady just says yes and she's gonna meet me,
Wait, you're a guy?
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, last time I
Apparently.
checked.
Oh,
Last time I checked, like that's what the government says on my ID. I'm a male. Anyways, like I'm a bit worried.
Sorry,
when,
bro.
when
Sorry you had to find out this way. It's a tough life.
I'm a bit worried when I'm meeting someone new, like a woman. Like, is she gonna be crazy? Is she gonna end up, stabbing me or doing something. And Jack, I think you remember that girl who kept texting my friends on Instagram. And
Oh my god, I remember her. Yeah. Oh
Jesus.
no.
That is scary. And I'm a guy. I was worried about that. Like a woman, imagine a woman meeting a guy from Tinder she doesn't know anything about. And I've had so many of them only through text from Tinder, Bumble. Okay,
Mhm.
they were okay and they were fine with meeting me in a private place that's not even mine. Okay, like an Airbnb, and they were being okay with getting drunk just to have sex with a total stranger guy that they just texted. I could be faking my own pictures. I could be some psychopath online, who's just going to rape her and do horrible things.
I mean, but that's accepted in your culture anyway, so.
Jesus.
Okay, that
Yeah.
got kind of dark.
Only when it's goats.
No, back. I did want to mention one thing back to the topic when Jack was, or you guys were talking about, sexism in video games.
Mhm.
I actually looked into one of the things I was looking at. They made the claim that that it does cause, playing games where women are objectified leads to like real world sexism. And I actually like looked into what study they based that claim on, and essentially, it was they had like 25. A set of guys, I think it was like 75, but they had a set of them play Leisure, Leisure Shoot Larry. Another set play The Sims, and then another set play Pac-Man. And then after they played it for like 25 minutes, they asked them like a few questions, like this logistics or this language recognition test where they show like a real word and then a fake word, and they have to like click quickly like which one's real, like if both are real, if one is real, if none are real. And then they add like sexually charged words to that, and they to see if like they can get a larger response. And then they also give a test where they ask questions like, would you exchange a promotion for sexual favors or something like that, these questions, and they assign a
Yes, I
numerical
would.
value. Yes. They assign a numerical value, and the higher the numerical value, the more likely you are to commit, sexual, some sort of a sexual harassment. And then so they administer these, and then the group that played Leisure Suit Larry scored higher on those tests. So they're relating that to the fact that they're more likely to commit real world sexual harassment. It's not based on any like real data, just to test to show the short term effects. And you'd think, like maybe they're just horny and they're more likely to answer those questions, or more likely to recognize like the word boobs quicker than other words. But
Oh,
this
no.
is entirely the study they use to say that sexualized women leads to sexual harassment in real life. It's that kind of study is what they're basing that off of.
Okay, but
Wow.
did they also write down the ethnicity of the participants?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay. Just asking.
You are very racist, Mr. Jack.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, Mackenzie's Twitter thread got very dark at a certain point.
But it's crazy that they'll use this, a normal person would look at that saying like, how does that actually relate to real world sexual violence? How does that actually prove anything? It's not even based off actual real life examples. But
It's just becoming true crime for women. They just need that. They need that indignation, and they need to find it. Like indignation is such a need for women these days. It's crazy.
But that's part of the propaganda machine. You come up with this sort of like flimsy study, and then you cite it in like 3 different sources, and eventually it becomes like the 70 cents for a dollar a man makes. You just repeat it ad nauseum until like no one knows the actual source, and it just becomes something that's accepted. And then it becomes sort of impossible to fight against, because it's just the actual source is obscured. They just say, the science shows that this really happens. And if you don't know the actual like science that it's based off of, which seems very spurious, like I can't actually see a real, looking at the study, I can't see how that actually translates to something like that. It's ridiculous.
But isn't like men, like when a man looks at like an attractive woman, the same parts in the brain light up as when he's using a tool, something like that?
Maybe.
Where
I
like
haven't heard of that
a
study.
man immediately goes into how do I solve this problem? Where it's
Yeah.
like, I want this.
Yeah.
How do I get it?
And they did use a similar study to prove in quotation marks that, you know, nonviolent pornography leads to sexual harassment. Like looking at nonviolent pornography leads to real life sexual harassment.
So I
Like,
watch
that's a
the
predictor.
violent one then. Then we're good.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they needed to have a control there. Like we can't have all pornography. But that's it. They just, so there's an entire mechanism of science and academia that like comes up with this stuff, and then like it gets sort of filtered into the media, and then the media repeats it, and social media repeats it, and then it becomes, you know, sexist video games cause sexism, and then now you can't have, you know, your sexy women in video games anymore. We got to censor that. We have
Just
to have.
remember that scientists were the ones who forced us to stay at home for 3 months and wear masks.
Mhm.
3
Yeah.
months, almost a year.
No,
Holy
it was a year for you guys. It was 3 months for us.
Florida, it wasn't that long either. So it just
Oh, the
depends on how
The
bad
Netherlands
your
got it
your
bad.
government is.
Yeah, the Netherlands got it bad. We even had a curfew.
Wow.
I do remember though that was a good time on Tinder. Oh yeah,
Oh.
girls did not give a crap. I remember.
Oh, dude. The
Oh,
funniest thing, when the lockdown happened, a shit ton of men got basically exposed for having a second wife.
oh.
They had a second wife and the first one didn't know about it. When the lockdown happened, like hell broke loose, dude. A lot of
Dave,
divorces happened, dude. A lot of people just, you know, got their homes broken up.
Oh,
Wow.
oh. Dave,
So wait,
Dante's
how?
here.
Oh,
Dante's here, Dave.
Dante. And
Hey everyone,
Hey, hey, Dante.
hey,
what are you folks talking about?
propaganda.
Propaganda and looking at hot chicks, and apparently there are evil studies out there saying that men watching non-violent porn are more likely to harass a woman. So men are only allowed to watch the most violent of porn nowadays. Apparently,
That's the kind of porn I like.
Yeah.
So more for
curb
me, I
stomp the bitch.
I mean, the science said so.
Not actually. This was a joke, or was it?
You never know.
Not a joke for Jack. A joke for me. A joke for Jack.
Okay, in all honesty, I'm the one who likes to get curb stomped. Dark.
So
But yeah.
Dante, what do you think as far as propaganda? Or I asked everybody in the panel. Let me get your thoughts. If how much do you think the media you consume like affects you in terms of your thoughts, actions, that kind of stuff?
As much as your environment affects you, right? So if your environment, like you take your cues from nature, right? To do things, to understand where you are, what to do, where you want to go. You take your cues from nature. And when you expose yourself to the news a lot and you hear things, that'll cause your stress levels to go up or down, cause your anxiety to go up or down, right? So you're affected by it. And how you consume your media affects how you think about the world and how you navigate it. Now, what you have to do is to make a choice, right? And the way I think about it is that if somebody, like, treat them like people. If somebody is lying to you consistently over and over again, do you take them seriously or you take them less seriously, right? Now, something we throw around on Twitter a lot is you don't hate the media enough. And that's true. Because you have this guy, let's say it's a guy, right? You have this guy that is supposedly your friend who keeps lying to you over and over again, consistently, by the way, and he always makes you more stressed and more panic and more insecure about yourself, and you pay him both because you subscribe to whatever, or you pay him like a subscription, or he's there at the bar all the time. So you get to decide: do I keep paying him? Do I keep going to the bar I usually go to? Do I keep watching the same channel, or do I just ignore it? And that's a choice every man has to make for himself. As for me, I don't watch the news. I don't have a TV at home. When there's a news channel on Twitter, I block the news channel. So that's how I think about it.
Mm.
You
That's
don't have
a
to
good.
be at home? Haram.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I let other people tell me what the news is. One of the cool things about having a girl with you is that they'll tell you what the news is. Like some stupid politician did this, and you know how to think about talking to your girl, because when a girl tells you shit, it's mostly gossip, and most politics these days is gossip. So
Mm.
it's not out of the ballpark. Um, so I let people around me tell me what's going on, and usually they're more spot on than the news is. And depending on how I trust the people I meet in my life, then I trust them with what their opinions are and what they think the truth is. So a part of it is letting go of things that aren't giving you good information or useful information, and then making friends with people who are. So
Mhm. Yeah, it is. It is hard to know. Or I mean, like the sort of biases and the fact that you're being marketed to, even with the news. And the
yeah,
guy that's supposed to be honest isn't really that concerned about honesty or accuracy or rationality. It's about how do I get more viewers, or how do I, or especially in the case of like modern mainstream media, it's very slanted towards one political side
yep,
and not the.
yeah. I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy that wrote like lit like wrote social media posts for a political party and student politics. And
Mm.
I didn't even need to be a persuasive. I didn't need to be tight with my arguments. I didn't need to be. I didn't need to be good at writing. I just needed to get people's emotions. Once I have your emotions, I can twist you. I can make you believe whatever I want you to believe. I can convince you anyway, whichever. It's the
Did
same
you-
thing Nuke does. When Nuke gets on Twitter and he triggers some chicks, and he berates chicks for what? Yeah, it's exactly what I did.
Mm.
Uh, I would, you know, I would try to shake people up, make them angry that I believe a certain way or that my party believed a certain way, and they would market whatever we had to say, and my candidate would win as a result. So, like, all they need is your emotions, and most people aren't in control of their emotions, myself included. So what I do is I stop talking to these people. I stop having them be in my life because I know I'm not, I know I don't have that big self control. I have I only have one way to vote, and that's to walk with my feet. That's it.
Did you read a lot of Saul Alinsky at the time, like Rules for Radicals?
Oh no, no, no! I didn't have to.
Oh,
I just know that what gets engagement is what gets people's emotions, right?
mhm.
So the way propaganda, and that's the other thing, is that propaganda only works if you're prone to it, and at some level, if you recognize that, oh, I really hate women right now because I got dumped on my girl, let's say. I really hate women right now, and so red meat content is not good for me. I'm going to avoid it. Then yeah, that's a choice you can make, right? But most of the time, part of being manipulated is that you're open to being manipulated. It manipulation is a two party thing. It's not
Yeah.
just a guy trying to get you to do something. It's you wanting to dance along be taken for a ride. So, and we all have it. We're all right. We're all human. So yeah, there we are. So understanding that you're human is part of it, and realize, okay, I'm not as in control of my emotions as I'd like to be, and so I'll avoid it. So
No, that's a very good point. It's a very
Yeah.
good point.
So let me ask you this, because I did want to get to this. Like, what as far as like actionable advice, is there certain ways? I mean, Dante kind of covered the way he does it, but how do you kind of control, or like not necessarily make yourself immune, because you're not, but how do you kind of fight against the sort of propaganda that you're constantly getting bombarded with, especially like in terms of like male identity or sexuality?
Serenity prayer is the big one, I
Mm.
think, where you need to know what you can and cannot control and just let go of the things you cannot control. And I want to add to Dante's point. Sorry, I forgot about that. It's the same thing like blaming women for being these manipulative Machiavellian masterminds. No, they're not Machiavellian masterminds. You want to be manipulated. You want to believe her lies because you're outcome dependent on her. Now, how you prevent yourself, well, not fully prevent, but like kind of protect yourself from propaganda. It's like what we talked about in the beginning. Outrage works the same way, where you can just decide to either watch something or not watch it. You can sit on your laptop and watch 1,000 Star Wars sucks nowadays videos, but that still won't improve Star Wars. The only way it will not affect your life anyway, other than when you stop watching it, you might focus on something that's actually beneficial to you. Same thing as the news. Even if the orange man wins, will it affect your life a lot? Maybe your groceries are getting cheaper, but does it make you more attractive? Does it make you more capable of dealing with your stuff? Not really. So I think the best way to protect yourself, like Dante mentioned, just turn off the news, block all social media news websites, and live life. Touch grass. The ancient old wisdom.
Manipulate others. That's a good way. You won't feel you will never feel as stupid as when you manipulate others and you realize, wow, this worked on me once. That's why a lot of guys have trouble with game and like employing red pill praxology, because they're just like, wait, this is what girls do, and we're like, yeah, and it works. So that's why we're using it.
Yep.
Right? Like becoming your own mental point of origin, game in general, telling women what they want to hear. That's propaganda in a way. That's manipulation, right? Obviously, it's the manipulation that she likes and enjoys. But when you manipulate others, or you ask them, you kind of lead them, like nudge theory or whatever. Like, for example, nudge theory can be applied to game. For example, you have a second place where you go to after the first place that's quieter. So you get to know the girl. And she feels like she's been on 2 dates instead of 1, right? You're nudging her slowly back to your place. You're not saying on the first 10 minutes, hey, let's go back to my place. You're hot. After like 2 hours, she's a little tipsy or buzzed. She's having a good time and she's in a quieter place and she feels like she's been on 2 dates or 3 dates and she feels less slutty when she goes back to your place, right?
Oh my
So
god, no,
one of the
so evil.
yeah, but the thing is, like, the same thing with the chat GBT stuff I use. I was manipulating women in a way that I was telling them like very therapy words and talking to them in a certain way where like I sounded like a very understanding guy. Obviously, that's not something you lead with. The comfort side, it comes later, right? But I realized that this kind of shit works on me too. Like I have believed women when they said certain things and when they talk to me a certain way. And then you realize like, wait, the best way to not fall for propaganda is to at least once in a while practice using it on other people. Don't hurt people, right? But like, especially with women when you're dating them, because you will see how effective it is and how much people want to believe certain things, even if it's to their detriment. And that's one of the best ways to not fall for this.
Oh, that's a really
I totally agree.
interesting way to look at it.
On Nuke's point, make your own stuff, right? So, like, if you feel like uh, everything that's out there is total crap, then make your own YouTube channel, make your own Substack, make your own Twitter account that talks about stuff like this. Because one thing I'm personally dealing with is, yeah, there's a lot of crap in this space. There is. And there's nothing you can do about it. But there's a certain section of people who are looking for good information, and being one more voice to lend at least helps you sleep at night, knowing that, okay, this is what I did. This is at least what I have to say is out there. At least I'm less annoyed by the fact that most of it is crap, because I've said my piece, right? So that's part of it. Instead of, being angry all the time about the fact that what's being said in the mainstream is not in line with how you think about things, then say your piece. Do something creative. Contribute. Support other people that you resonate with, and that'll at least give you some comfort that at least it's available to people if they want answers. So
Yeah, definitely. I do think that kind of like deep diving into stuff, making sure that, like, even like going to like the diet metaphor I used earlier about, making sure your diet isn't just, social media, really shallow stuff, diving deeper into a topic, maybe like reading books or like audiobooks that like go into a deeper into topics, and like kind of appreciating that, or doing something like drawing or something creative that takes a lot more work, that isn't necessarily something you just sort of like mindlessly scroll through. Not that I scroll on Twitter too, but having stuff that isn't, just dopamine hit after dopamine hit
Yeah.
definitely helps.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons we hate propaganda is obviously we don't like to be fooled. We don't like to be, kind of like we want to be ones in control to control things. We want to be able to control what we think. But the truth is, we're all being manipulated constantly by advertising companies, sorry, by the opposite sex, by our parents. It may not be explicit. It may not be like you will do this, but there's incentives. They have incentives. They use imagery, right? Like even when you go buy something at the store, there's a woman with her tits out to advertise that. That's they're trying to tell you, like when they sell you Jordans, like, hey, we know that you don't think you're a basketball player, but if you play these shoes, you will be better because this person wears these shoes when they play, and look at their performance, right? It's like the human brain is really susceptible to this stuff, and you don't want to be susceptible to it because it makes you feel weak and it makes you feel like a fool, right? But the only way you will ever make peace with propaganda is essentially you have to understand that it's just such a low-hanging fruit for people. And all you need to go bypass is your own morality. And that is the problem when it comes to this. We don't see it as a moral thing, and the people that use it don't give a shit, right? And you need to understand there is no morality in this propaganda stuff. Like there's propaganda and there's counter propaganda, and then they propaganda you back. Like for example, when we would launch jets in the Middle East, and then we would drop pamphlets on towns, right? Jets would basically bomb the town with pamphlets saying, hey, do you really want to go kill Americans? This is what happens if you do. And the reason is that America, like, we understand propaganda, and you could either use it as to be a victim, like, hey, propaganda is destroying everything in this country and women are fooling me, or you could just, hey, it's a thing, it's a human thing, it's always existed, people are going to use it, it's such a low-hanging fruit when it comes to manipulation on a mass scale. How about I use it for my own purposes within the confines of the law, and see how I feel about it. And then you get to decide yourself where it's bad and where it's good, right? Because just like you can propaganda, like Critical Drinker can propagandize people to never watch Star Wars again, which is good or bad depending on how you see it. He can also propagandize people to start their own stuff, to create their own stories, to create uh, their own mythologies and stuff like that. Maybe out of all those thousands of writers, one of them is actually talented enough for it to make it to the big screen, right? That's, it's all about the perspective, but I don't think propaganda should be seen as evil. It's just another part of the human experience, and we're just susceptible. And you only realize how susceptible you are when you use it yourself. You're just like, Jesus Christ, man, are you serious? Like, is it really that easy to fool people on a mass scale? And that's why these guys make so much money, right? Because you can tell them something on a podcast where, like, hey, women are like this and women are like that, and you're playing to their fears about women and their male neuroticism, and they eat it up, and they spend years thinking this, and that's their whole life. And you're just like, dude, like, you haven't even spoken to a woman or dated a woman in 3 years, yet you believe all this stuff. Have you not tried it yourself? No, big red pill government says I have to believe this. And I was like, geez, okay, dude, enjoy it. Enjoy your propaganda. That's what it is. So
Here's another way to, here's a simple way to manipulate people. Jack and Nuke can get their tits out, and that'll get more people to view and listen to you folks. So
If we don't get canceled, yeah,
that's it's a very easy way, So there's that. Other than that, like I think that's the most effective way. Somebody get their tits out. That's the most effective way.
I was on a stream today, and there was one guy. It was actually pretty funny. He's like, look, I feel so demasculinized by Jack's shirt, then I just can't take it anymore. And he just ripped his shirt off. It's like, finally, I feel free. It's like, what the hell?
He did that live on stream? For
He
real?
did that live on stream, for real.
We need
I hopped in on Glenn's stream. It was so fucking weird. What a guy. What a guy.
I think streamers, this is personal opinion. This is not red pill shit or anything. Personal opinion only. We need a code of ethics. No. A code of professional standards.
We do.
Like lawyers have their own thing, right? Where they have a certain rules for professional conduct. We need that for streamers.
No, we do.
right.
But
They have a TOS, but never seemed to work.
Okay.
Yeah, at first he ripped the V-neck. He's like, I just can't stand it anymore. That man sitting there with his chest out, blah blah. And in a fit of rage, he just ripped his entire shirt. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Like Superman style, like
yeah.
It's
like, what the hell is happening here?
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yep.
So they're So the other thing is realizing that most of the manipulation out there is, first of all, it's women trying to manipulate you. So you have the OnlyFans shit, and you have if I remember correctly, there was a hot chick in a military uniform, and then like in a short, in an Instagram short, and then it cut to a guy's like, nope. Don't enlist. So there's that. So people use chicks to get men to buy shit. And most of the advertising is getting girls to buy shit. My girl is always sending me like TikToks of things she wants to buy or places she wants to go, and I have to be the guy that says it's too expensive. No, we had something like that last time. So realize that a lot of this media is not for you, and you're gonna have to find shit on your own. You're responsible for your own happiness.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Big girl on screen is not responsible for your happiness. She's only there.
You're asking them to be responsible. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I need someone to be angry at.
Yeah. There was a crazy video on Twitter where you saw a guy whose son has been murdered by a refugee, like in like a car accident or something, and he literally saying like, I wish the person that killed my son had been an old white guy, because he was upset that they were using this as an example to like argue against immigration or like your refugees, open borders. But it was so amazing to me that, you know, he's so afraid of being like labeled as racist that he couldn't even be angry at the fact that that this sort of policy led to his son being killed, and he couldn't even be angry at the refugee. He was more concerned, or as big a concern publicly was the fact that this refugee was being used as you know, an example against immigration. And I just reiterated just how extreme and just how prevalent this sort of like propaganda, like anti-white or racist propaganda has become, that a man can't even be angry that his son has died. He has to like, and you've seen it before, like in other examples where, you know, we forgive them. They'll come out and make these public statements about, you know, asking for forgiveness and these sort of things, you know, for the murderer. It always amazes me just how effective this is. And especially like, I guess to bring it more to like the red pill, where men are afraid to, you know, move towards, you know, their own self-interest, where you don't want to succeed, or you don't want to succeed, or like you're okay with the fact that you might be like passed over for a promotion. You know, we're very concerned about being racist that you won't even, you know, fight for your own community or your own family even.
Okay, so David, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Like, if you're too afraid to like express your grief at your own son's death, that's tragic, absolutely tragic. I will take it at another angle though, in that if the first thing you think about is that is the race of the person who killed your kid, how much do you care about your kid anyway? So even that, right? When that's presented to you, that's an easy fodder for people to realize, oh, this woke shit is gone too far. It's tearing apart. It's affecting how families are perceiving each other and all that. But at the same time, like if that's the first thing you think about, how much do you care about your kid? So even that becomes like a vehicle for, you know, for whatever message people want you to get. And sometimes it's tricky. But you just have to be aware and think like, what's in it for me? Well, in this case, first of all, it's not my family. As heartless as that might sound, it really isn't. The second thing is recognizing that if my kid died, then I won't behave the same way. Those are the only two things you can control. So that, going back to like what Rob always says, because he's right. It's like, what's in it for me? What do I want? Whenever you hear something or see something, because it will always get you back to reality and realize that what's important and what's not.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It definitely is important. I just, to me, it was just shocking the way you phrased it. Like, I wish my son had been killed, rather than like, I wish my son hadn't been killed. Rather, I wish he'd been killed by somebody different that it would have been acceptable to be angry at.
I remember that guy where he was yeah, because I went to the bathroom real quick, but that was the guy who wished his son wasn't executed by an immigrant, right?
Yeah, I think it might have been a car accident or something, but just a guy that wasn't born here. If policies were different, wouldn't have been here.
Mhm.
And then, of course, not wishing that. I don't know. It might have been carelessness. Again, I didn't really look that deep into it, which is maybe a thing on my own. It's easy to fall for a lot of the propaganda
Mhm.
too, even on your own end. If it's something that you wish you want to believe, like like immigration is a net negative, that kind of stuff. For these refugee programs are net negative, which is
Mhm.
something that you may not necessarily look deeper into it because you don't want to. Or, like that's good enough to get this sort of emotional reaction of like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Oh yeah.
Well, so the way I look into things is if something is happening and it might affect me, I always look into like numbers, and I wouldn't say statistics, but I always look into it deeper. Like you mentioned earlier, Dave, where sometimes you just need to have a second look. So what I would do is, okay, if there are Haitian immigrants coming to the U.S. and I live, let's say, in Austin, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, like how many of them are coming to Texas? How many of them are going to Dallas? How many of them are going to
Mhm.
Austin? You can look around and look. Are there tents being pitched outside? You know, and
Mhm.
if they're not, then maybe it might not be relevant to you, or maybe might be false, right? So it doesn't even have to be real or not. It just has to. You just have to figure out, okay, is this impacting me at the moment? To Jack's point, touching grass usually is most of the news you need, because a lot of people love to talk about the news if it's relevant or
Mhm.
not. And a lot of the time, like if there's a recession, your company will start doing some layoffs or not, or like start acting differently, start selling differently. So you'll know. Um, but propaganda is there to like create something that isn't part of it is creating something that isn't real for you, or something that isn't real for you yet, make it real in your head. That's what it wants to do. So if
Mhm.
you're careful, if you it takes practice for sure. But if you practice it hard enough, if you take a second look, then you're better off. You're able to navigate better.
Yeah.
So I think the propaganda affects people who are attached to something, like whatever it is. Let's say Jack and his Legos. If there's a propaganda going about Legos, he's gonna be pissed off.
I
For
mean,
example,
they've
like
been doing that for years. So
yeah,
mm.
it does
The
annoy, right?
some of the best ways to get over propaganda and then just like the shame of falling for it and all that stuff is just to simply admit that the institution or uh idea whoever is pushing the propaganda, just admit that they win, and it kind of gives you a better perspective and like mental model, right? A lot of guys, like for example, we have the liberal propaganda where it's like, they just want to commit, like they want to give women abortion and they want to rule the world, whatever the thing is, right? If you admit, hey, they win, it kind of gives you a problem solving perspective. I'm like, okay, these people are in control. They are the ones that are like dishing this stuff out. How do I win? Right? Instead of how am I the victim of this? You say, hey, how do I win? How do I beat this? How do I not let it affect me as much as possible? And then you can go from there. And I tell guys, like, one of the best things when you're like, you're unplugging is to and look at women as a whole and admit that they won. Women won, right? And then from there, you can be like, okay, since they have all this power, how do I navigate the sexual marketplace? How do I navigate work? How do I navigate family, friends, all that stuff? Now that I know this fact, instead of fighting against the propaganda machine that is women are wonderful and men suck. Because if you do that, you're just going to be tired and angry and frustrated. And it's almost like a self fulfilling prophecy, right? You're exactly where they want you, because if the propaganda says women are awesome and men suck, right? And you're fighting against that, eventually you're gonna suck because you're wasting time being angry, and they're gonna be like, look at it, look how mad he is, look at this incel. And you don't want that, right? You want to be the opposite, where you're just like, they're like, "Ha, men suck," and you're just like, "Yeah, I mean, we aren't that great sometimes." So they're like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "Yeah, but I guess I gotta go to work, but thanks for telling me I suck." And then you move on, and then you see the propaganda didn't work because you're in reality. You understand the powers that be. You understand the human condition, and you can move the fuck on to something more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, Disney won. Just admit Disney won. I mean, they're losing, but the more we fight against Disney, the longer it takes for them to go away.
Yeah,
Same
well,
thing
and
with
that's the thing.
all the
That's
game
what
studios and all that stuff.
that's what I mean with indifference and indignation, where it's like, no, you just ignore them. Stop buying their stuff. Stop talking about their stuff, because Disney right now is using Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker as their marketing machines, because people are hate watching.
Yeah. And like the other day in a space, this older lady, married for 11 years, was like, "What are your thoughts on women?" And I'm just like, "Well, they exist." And they're like, "Are you Muslim?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know what this has to do with the conversation." And they're like, "So what are your views on women at a whole?" I'm like, "What do you mean views? Like, I don't. They're 50% of the population. I don't know what you're trying to tell me." And then she was like, "Do you think women?" Do you think men and women are at war with each other? I'm like, no, that's just some online shit. We're like, there is no winning against the other gender. There's no winning or losing. We're just trying to figure out how to exist with each other. And she just keeps getting angry and angry. And I'm like, that's how you win. The propaganda is that you suck as a man and you're evil. But if you accept, hey, maybe I am evil, I'm not a good man. That's it. It stops there. And then they're just like, okay. Like, hey guys, doesn't this game suck? Doesn't this game is absolutely trash? And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go play another game. Thanks though. Thanks for the offer.
I remember when I was in college, that was the one, like the question you asked, what are your views on X, right? What are your views on XYZ? If you think about it, it's like you're trying to create a scenario where the person can't win, right? So for example, like, Jack, what are your views on McDonald's? Like, what the hell, right?
I love their breakfast.
Am I supposed to?
McDonald's is amazing
Am I supposed
until you
to have
finish
an
eating
opinion?
from it.
Like, I didn't know that I was supposed to have a press conference and come up with a prepared statement, concerning the fast food chain.
Aren't you mad? Why is the
Yeah.
propaganda?
Like, do I have to have a? Am I pro?
Yeah,
Like, pro or the other thing is pro or against? Are you pro women or against women? Are you pro abortion against? I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't look into everything and.
I just want to get laid.
Yeah, this is a Wendy's, ma'am. This is a Wendy's, sir. So, like, you also have to realize that the people that are trying to get a rise out of you by putting you in a spot like that, they're looking for an opening, and a lot of the time you have to realize that you have no obligation to give these people what they want. You just have to say. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on McDonald's. I don't know very well how they make their food.
I, in fact, have an opinion about McDonald's that their policy of serving breakfast food only till 11 a.m. is absolute garbage. Serve it the whole day. Breakfast food can be enjoyed every time of the day. Just saying.
Yeah, or you could agree and amplify, like Jack said. So, like, Jack
I'm not
said-
kidding.
Okay,
I'm
he's
not kidding. I am very serious.
So,
Yeah,
Jack is very susceptible to propaganda. Do what he says, not what he don't do what he does. so yeah, there. So you don't have to give these people what they want. You just realize that you don't have to, and do something better with your time. Use the tools that we talk about here.
Touch grass. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's the best thing you can do. Get busy in life. None of this shit is gonna matter. You're gonna be mad at some things. Okay, if you love something or like something, and someone just tries to ruin it, you'll be a bit pissed
It's
off.
like when
about it.
Rollo, it's like when Rollo got mad at like the guy that was making fun of Warhammer. all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I go to war for my hobby. If someone said, you know, piano is a stupid hobby, why would anyone play it? I'd be like, all right, let's go to war. Let's do this because you know, like
You
it's
know-
not. It's brought me a lot of joy in my life, but like overall for your life choices, like if someone says, "Hey, you as a guy suck," I'd be like,
It may
Okay,
be
have a nice
it may
day.
be a stupid hobby, but it's my stupid hobby, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing with me and my Legos. When people make fun of my Legos, it's it's childish. So, what you gonna
"What are
do
you gonna
about
do?"
it? I mean,
what are you
I
gonna-
have a
you want me to
dragon.
Yeah.
It's
You
what
just
are gonna
fog 'em.
do?
Just fog them like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, sure.
Fog the fuck out of them.
Mm,
I can see how
What-
you feel like that.
Tanuke's like questions like, so what's your plan?
mhm.
What-
What are you gonna
I
do?
What are your views on McDonald's? I don't know, but you should have one. They did XYZ. So what's your plan?
Mhm.
Right?
Don't you know they're using propaganda on you? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, tits are a very good propaganda tool, and I like tits. So
I
it's
like
like,
it.
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go buy that. I'm gonna go buy a pack of White Claw because there was a big billboard with a hot chick, a hot brown, a Latina chick on there. I guess I'm gonna go buy some White Claw. And they're like, how could you let yourself be manipulated? I'm like, I don't know, bro. I just
I
wanted to
want
drink
it.
some
I
White Claw.
like
now.
it.
Fuck it. Like same thing with the video games with the hot chicks like Stellar Blade. They'll be like, hey, you know, you're being manipulated into like buying this game because the chick is hot. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. I love it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want
And
I
I
want more games with hot chicks.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna just play the game on my coffee table, and I'm just like, yeah, it's manipulation, it's propaganda. I'm like, yeah, I want to be manipulated. I want to be manipulated sometimes, not all the time, but I want to be manipulated. You know?
There's
Mhm.
a Netflix special that I've watched recently called America's Sweethearts. It's about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed it to a point, but I did enjoy it. So, you know, it's obviously like propaganda for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, but fuck, like watching model looking chicks do athletic shit and they're fit. That's not a bad like use of your time. So
Mhm.
there's a recommendation for you folks. Go
Oh,
watch
yeah.
it. That's fun.
The Warhammer 2 has been a blast, and you kind of feel that like that they kind of base their whole like a lot of their sister like all of it's really about propaganda in a way because we have like the empire is so like authoritarian and they've got like all these sort of like religious connotations to it where like the emperor protects like duty is all like even in death I serve it's that kind of stuff and it's super entertaining and like but there is like an element like oh man this is effective like where they talk about brotherhood like this guy's your brother and you're fighting together with your brothers and they've got all that stuff in it but like when you're part of it and it's so strong that bond's so strong and it's really masculine it's like dang I really enjoy this stuff like the
I mean,
certainty of it
It's so over the top violence that it's
Mhm.
amazing. It's like
Yeah.
more.
yeah it's like you will die like I'll kill her like we'll die with vengeance on our lips I'm like, oh, such a good lips such a
mean,
good
when-
line I'm like I love it
When you rip off the limb and
Yeah.
you stab it with it, it's like yes, more.
yeah give me more
Mm.
put it into my veins
The only thing that would have
adrenaline.
been better if like hot bikini clan chicks would cheer you on.
yeah
In the background.
they get rid of like any sexuality but even a way I'm kind of I don't mind it because like I don't want to see any women in it it's
That's
just
fair.
war war and violence that's all you need like the fact that they have to have like this one at least she bows to you like the one Imperial Guard commander is a woman because they have to like throw in like a woman somewhere if they didn't there wouldn't be any but like the fact that she'll bow down to you as a space marine is still feels pretty good
Wasn't
like,
that
a
like a
male power
very?
fantasy.
Wasn't that just a dude, but they made it into a woman?
Well, I mean,
Something-
they make the Imperial Guard like really rough, and I guess that kind of makes sense in a way. Like it's not, it's not a good time to be in the Imperial Guard. It's all very
Mhm.
Oh, Dante's heading out. See you later, Dante. I don't know if he has anything to promote. Is he doing the Substack?
Yeah, he's doing
Not
this.
that.
Substack. I can put
Check
it in
out
there.
Dante's Substack. Always good to have him by.
Yeah, we can
very-
wrap it up in a bit.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. Do you guys have stuff you want to promote? Or any final thoughts as far as like propaganda and positive actionable advice here?
Funnily enough, I actually wrote about this on my Substack this week. A real man is whatever fits my narrative. It got released this morning, so I would appreciate it if people would go check that out.
Right
Final
on.
thoughts on the whole propaganda thing. Know what's being done. Know when propaganda is used against you, and know when propaganda is used in your favor. Like Nuke said, if these diet sodas were promoted by hot white chicks with triple D tits and being blonde, I'd be all over those drinks even more. It's like, yeah, I feel like drinking it, and I want to be manipulated like that. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Do you want like a brown box with nothing on it that says Coca-Cola, or do you want like the polar bear, the Christmas polar bear on it, and a cool design in the back? No, you want people to put in effort in order to manipulate you. That's what I'm saying.
Apple did that great with their design, with like unboxing an Apple product is an event. It's an event itself. I mean, they did
Absolutely.
that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for me, the Substack, and those were my final thoughts. Know when you're manipulated in a positive and negative way, and act accordingly.
Mish, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think I can add anything more over the guys what they said. I got nothing. Like I'm not even on Twitter that much. Mostly, I like
Substack.
the Substack.
Got the
Yeah, mostly
Substack.
go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, yeah. I just mentioned you do have the Substack going on.
Yeah, I've been doing that lately. I've been feeling generous about writing, so I don't know if I'm gonna write anytime soon. Whenever a thought comes to my mind or something happens, I just go and remember something and write. So you can follow that if you want some career advice or stuff about corporate and how to survive.
Right on. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. Just going to mention that before people start filtering out. But Nuke, what do you got as far as what's going on with you? Closing thoughts, promotion.
Closing thoughts is like you're gonna be subject to propaganda. It's just how very powerful institutions kind of work. There is really no morality about it. We want to be manipulated more for the things in the way we like. You can't choose every time how you're manipulated. It sucks, but just give yourself the opportunity to do it yourself within the confines of the law, obviously, because you will do it for your children in the future. You'll do it with your friends, your parents. You also participate in this, so you won't understand why people do it until you do it yourself. And then follow the Substack. It's growing pretty fast, and show tonight at 9 p.m. Central.
Right on. What's just on your YouTube?
Yeah, it's on my YouTube. Yeah.
Sweet. And I know like Robert Greene in The Art of Seduction said like the people that in order to seduce someone, they need to want to be seduced. So it is, and ideally it's something that's fun for everyone, both the seducer and the person being seduced. It's a partnership as far as someone that's giving them a fantasy and like they get to live that fantasy. So it's not always bad. Like in the case of like the Warhammer, the Space Marines, I want to be part of that. I want to sort of fall into that power fantasy of being like this giant space paladin that's unleashing violence on everyone. So there is propaganda that is positive, and there's stuff that negative. But I think it's ultimately like knowing what you want out of life and realizing what's working against you and what's working with you, and just being able to sort of break free, especially for younger guys or guys that's first unplugging. getting rid of those sort of negative propaganda around like male sexuality, as far as, you know, it being predatory, it being wrong, you know, being the fact, you know, that they're afraid to sort of go after what they want in terms of like sexual desires, or even sort of career goals and that kind of stuff. You know, you got to take care of your family, you got to take care of the West, you have all these things that you need to, you know, strive for, that maybe, you know, at the end you don't want. It's not fulfilling. Being able to sort of break free from that, and in a way we you know, make our own propaganda, and hopefully that's, you know, positive for men, help them break free from those sort of societal pressures that, you know, work against them and make them happy, and help them, you know, find what you want out of life. And if you like have a firm grip on that, you know, being able to like, hey, you know, my needs matter, and I'm willing to go against, you know, society, and unfortunately maybe even willing to be alone in that. You know, some maybe you have to break some of those bonds, those social bonds you have between like your church or your work or your family, in order to pursue, you know, what you want. It's hard, but I think in the end it's more worthwhile than sort of living that sort of, you know, desperate life that sort of feels ultimately hollow, or, you know, kind of like you're kind of like tied down by all these obligations that you didn't necessarily want in the first place. But that's it for my thoughts. Scar Thump podcast every Sunday before this, you know, 9 a.m. Eastern, talking about video games. And I do have a Substack, but I don't know if I'm going to write on it that much, but it's there. Thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate it. And like I said, like, subscribe. We're trying to get this channel to 1,000 subs, get that YouTube money. I really appreciate it, guys. And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Later.
Stream.